would you like to learn to play 2, 3, 4, even 5 complete songs on guitar to a reasonable standard every month without frustration or confusion? I call this the roadmap effect because when you have a complete structured approach to your guitar learning, it's like the difference between following a map to get where you want to go or getting totally lost without one. And while that might sound pretty obvious, the number of beginners who can honestly say they know step by step how to actually get from where they are now to where they want to be with their guitar playing is very small. The truth is that when most adults sit down to practice guitar, they're not following a structured approach that will get them where they want to go. Instead, they try to make sense of fragments of information from different sources with none of it in the correct sequence to learn in, at the right level for them at that given time, or personalized to their specific situation and what's actually happening with their hands on their guitar. And it's not based on the actual music the person wants to be able to play. It's only people learning to play guitar with a complete step-by-step structured approach that can say, when I pick up the guitar, I make progress. Hi, my name's Ian O'Brien, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you exactly how I'm teaching my students a structured approach to learn to play 2 to 5 complete songs on guitar every single month and how you can do the same. I'm also going to share with you the biggest mistake most adult beginners are making when it comes to learning to play guitar. I'm going to share with you the 2 things that successful guitar learners have in their practice that those who get frustrated and struggle don't have, and the simple, proven, 4-stage process for learning to play the songs you want to and how you can start using it straight away. This is the exact same structured approach and strategies that I've used to help hundreds of beginners learn to play their favorite songs on guitar. You see, over the last few years, I've been committed to helping frustrated adult beginners to play their favorite songs on guitar and having a lot of fun in the process. So if you're an adult beginner and you're looking for a structured way to overcome frustration and get playing your favorite songs confidently to a reasonable standard so they're recognizable and enjoyable, then you're definitely in the right place. This is Bob Jordan from Tennessee in the US, and Bob owned a guitar since he was 9 years old when it was given to him by his aunt. He tried to learn several times over the years. He couldn't change chords or get his strumming hand to do what it wanted to. He wasn't able to make enough sense of it all to be able to play songs. Then after only 9 days working with me using a structured approach, Bob was able to play his first song, which was Stand By Me, and his wife recognized it. This is John French from Shakespeare Country in the UK, and John didn't think he'd be able to play guitar at all. He had trouble fretting chords, he had no natural sense of rhythm, and he felt he had no ear for music. So we started with building up John's ability to play clean and musical chords before developing his rhythm and then into songs. 5 months in, John invited 2 of his work colleagues to play music with him, and lo and behold, he was able to jam with them fluidly through 10 complete songs, and he told me afterwards it felt amazing. This is Anne Cooley from Adelaide in Australia, and Anne tried to play guitar with books and YouTube videos when she was younger, but she found them uninspiring and not personalized enough. So she ended up putting the guitar away for years until she feared that she was too old to learn, but she never lost her wish to do it. And Anne did amazing. Within 1 year, working with me, she learned to play 100 complete songs. And Anne has the record for the most songs learned from any of my students in 1 year. And it includes her all-time favorite song to play, which is Gold Dust Woman by Fleetwood Mac. And the best thing about this structured approach is that it removes overwhelm, confusion, and frustration by teaching only one skill at a time, step by step, in the correct order to learn them in. You'll be playing your first song, one that you choose, within 27 days, and there's no need to ever waste time searching for a song you like that's playable at your current level, only to find out it's too hard once you've got stuck into it and you've already spent time on it. So this is the biggest mistake most adult beginners are making when it comes to learning to play guitar. And I call this the butterfly effect, or hope practice. So the butterfly effect is where somebody who wants to play guitar picks up some guitar books and starts looking at the stuff in there and trying to make sense of the diagrams and what they're showing them on the guitar. And then maybe they'll move over and choose some exercises and have a go at them, different things on the on the neck of the guitar. And then maybe they'll look at a book that has a 1 tune a day kind of structure to it, and you're kind of plinking through these 1 string kind of exercises. And then maybe they'll move on from that and have a look at a video. There's loads of videos online, so they'll look at a few videos, have a look at some different advice, different things that they should be doing at different points in time. And then maybe they'll they'll find the the lesson a little bit fast paced and lacking some detail. So then they'll have a go fretting some chords, see how that works out, try to get their fingers to make the chords sound clean, and then they'll have a go searching for some songs that they feel would be, a good song to start with, a good beginner song to get their teeth into, and then they'll move on from there and have a look for chord charts for the songs they might want to play. Chord charts, then you realize that they don't actually show when the chords change in relation to the music, and they don't show you the rhythm that's being played. So, and then they'll have a go at learning some strumming patterns, because obviously you need to have some rhythm to some songs. So they'll have a go with their strumming and try to pick up some rhythms from there. And then try and make it all sound musical, have a go coordinating the two hands, try and make it sound like a real song. And then if that, may or may not work, so then they'll have a go looking at some reading music, feel like they need to understand it a little bit more to be able to play the song better. Have a go at that. And then, a lot of people advise that you should be learning particular scales with bizarre names, and it's not really clear how they're relevant to actually playing any music. So you have a go learning to play some scales, and then, you figure you should know the names of the notes on the fretboard. A lot of people might tell you that. So you start, trying to memorize, maybe get some stickers, learn and memorize the names of the notes on the fretboard. And you're really hovering from one thing to another and covering a lot of ground, but only going really an inch deep in many, many different directions. And this is the butterfly learning. And all the time you're hoping that it's going to come together, that the guitar playing is just going to fall together and start to make sense. And if you have a situation like this, it's likely that you actually move on to a different thing at the point when the thing you're doing is challenging you, and it's a little bit tricky, and you're not really sure how to overcome what's happening on the guitar and play it and get it to sound how you want. So you have a go moving on to something else at that point. So the opposite of the butterfly effect is what we really want to do with our time and energy. Rather than scattering our energy in all these different directions and going, an inch deep in all these different directions, if we took that same amount of time and energy on the guitar and instead we focused it in one specific direction, and we focused just on the thing that we need to do at that point in time in order to move forward with our guitar playing, we'd find out that we made a lot more progress with exactly the same effort. And so this kind of power of what I call the power of focus. Here's Hugh Forbes. Hugh's from Leicestershire in the UK, and playing guitar had always been on Hugh's bucket list for many years, and he'd owned a guitar for just as long. He'd tried books, YouTube videos, and he'd even had one-to-one lessons in the past, but without much progress. And all he'd ever wanted to do was to get some tunes out of it. His main challenges were getting his fingers in the right places and building muscle memory to change smoothly between chords. And when we first spoke to Hugh, he told me he had a goal of learning to play 10 complete songs over the next 12 months. And then 3 months later, Hugh was playing 13 of his favourite songs, and he broke his goal, or met his goal, very, very quickly. And here's Barry Price from West Midlands in the UK. Barry wanted to learn to play guitar from scratch and as a complete beginner and learn to play his favourite songs. And he told me he tried various methods so far, but he was still at the beginning looking for a structured method. And 12 months later, Barry is playing over 30 songs on guitar. So when I asked Barry how many songs he could now play, he sent me a photo of the chord sheets that I've made for the songs he's learned. And you can see the photo here. It's a lot of songs. Here's Chris Cole from Hampshire in the UK. Chris retired as a chemist, and he wanted to learn to play guitar. So he subscribed to a variety of different guitar magazines, and he was looking through those, trying to make sense and build up a whole picture. But from that, he ended up with little knowledge of chords, very sore fingers, and no structure to his playing. So Chris considered himself a pretty poor player at this stage, and he felt like he was just muddling along with no purpose to his playing. And then 12 months later, and Chris is now doing great. He's learned to competently play over 40 songs on guitar, and he's now got himself his dream guitar, which is a Martin, to play them on. With learning guitar, I'm sure you've noticed that people generally fall into one of two categories. The first category is the strugglers. They're people who get stuck and frustrated, fretting chords cleanly, changing between them quickly, strumming fluidly, and putting it all together to play songs. And in the second category, they're people that get called naturals. They seem to flow through each of the stages of learning to play, picking up each skill in turn and learning to play song after song fluidly and musically. And when they play them, they sound the way they do on the recordings. And what is it that allows some people to learn song after song, while others are unable to play their first song after months or years of trying? And after talking to hundreds of adults learning to play guitar and teaching guitar for 24 years, I've realized the naturals have two things present in their practice that the strugglers do not. And the truth is that if you have both of these things present in your guitar practice, it becomes much easier to learn to play 2 to 4 songs a month or more. And the first thing is feedback loops. Now, let's start with an example where there's no feedback loop in your practice, because this is how most people practice, and it can cause a very frustrating experience and a lack of progress, or very, very linear progress. And I call practicing without feedback loops naive practice. So there's two things in this diagram. First up is the input that you put into playing guitar. And by that, I mean your actions on the guitar. So that could be the chords you choose to have a go at, where you're placing your fingers, the movements that you might be making, how you're attempting to change between those chords. It might be the position of your wrist, the amount of strength that you're using, and the amount of pressure onto the strings. It could be what you're doing in terms of strumming, okay? It's the efforts that you make and the actions. Now, the second thing on the diagram is the output, and that output is really just the sound the guitar makes. Obviously, we're aiming to play songs the way they sound, so that they're recognizable. So when there's no feedback loop present in your practice, this naive practice, the sound that comes out of the guitar doesn't inform what you then do on the guitar. Okay, there's no loop, there's no feedback loop, there's no circular relationship between those two things. So this kind of practice, it involves mindless repetition, that old chestnut of practice, 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 and then trial and error, confusion and frustration. And it can result in progress on the guitar, but only a little bit of progress at a time. It's very linear, if any progress. It's a recipe for a frustrating experience. So if we put a feedback loop into your practice, what's happening is that the sound that comes out of your guitar, you listen to that or you hear that, and it then informs what you actually do the next time you play, or even while you're playing. The adjustments that you make, you're correcting course to improve what you're doing and to build upon it. It happens over time. So an example would be somebody with one of my students playing, let's say they're playing a particular chord that they can't get clean and they're not sure why, or they're having trouble changing quickly between a couple of chords, and they might feel like the answer with the naive practice is just more and more practice. But at this point, I would guide them based on the sound that's coming out of the guitar and guide them towards maybe actually correcting their posture, changing the amount of pressure they're using, fretting the notes in a particular way, in a particular position, and having the right angle and approach to the guitar. Okay, based on what I hear, that would form a feedback loop to then affect what they're then going to do on the guitar and the next actions they take. Okay, so you can form a feedback loop in that way by having somebody personally guide you through what you're doing. It can be very, very effective. It's the highest level of feedback you can really get. But you can also, you could record your playing and listen to it back, see what you think. If you can, identify anything that could be changed or could be done differently and improved towards the goal you're aiming for, the way you want it to sound, that's great. Or you could even film yourself just with a smartphone and use that to create your own kind of feedback loop in your practice. So the people who do really well and excel with their guitar learning, they have not just once around the feedback loop, they go many, many times around the feedback loop. And each time they go around, the progress climbs and climbs and climbs. And practice with feedback loops involved, it includes focus, particular problem solving, and also a much stronger rate of progress. And the result of practicing with feedback loops is that you actually get an exponential progress. It's instead of your progress being step by step and adding to what you're doing, adding to what you're doing, adding to what you're doing, it actually multiplies by flying around this loop. And the difference here is that with the feedback loops, your actual progress, it compounds in time. It builds on itself and on itself to be much higher. And I'm not the only person who's noticed the effect of this compounding. Einstein, pretty smart guy, one of the things he's famous for saying is that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And he's talking about the compounding effect here of having a feedback loop. And the second thing present in the practice of the people who get called naturals and make really great progress on the guitar playing is that they have a sweet spot. Now, what I'm talking about here is, let's say you're practicing something that's too difficult. Okay, you might not know it's too difficult, but you're practicing something that's too difficult for you, and it's going to take a long while to crack and to get comfortable at and to actually be able to do it. Okay, it can lead to a frustrating experience. That frustration can lead you to picking up the guitar less and less. Okay, so obviously your progress is not going to happen if you're not even picking the guitar up. But the opposite of trying to do something that's too hard for your current level is then trying to do something too easy, doing something that's a bit patronizing, maybe like simple single string melodies aren't going to get you to the level of playing the songs that you want to. And if it's too easy, you can get bored with doing it. There's no real sense of challenge and accomplishment to motivate or drive you forward, and you get bored, so you don't pick up the guitar much anyway. So both of those are situations that we don't want to happen. The middle ground, the middle way in this is to remain wherever you are on your guitar playing journey in the sweet spot of learning. So what you're practicing, what you're doing on the guitar is neither too easy, so it leads to boredom and doesn't challenge you, and it's not too difficult, so it leads to frustration, and you're just not really wanting to pick up the guitar as much as you did when you had the drive and motivation that you get from actually making progress. And that progress comes from always being able to stay in the sweet spot and do things that are accomplishable. Now here's Neil Catterall. He's from Staffordshire in the UK, and Neil had always loved listening to music, but he never thought he'd be able to play the guitar. So 18 years ago, he was given a guitar for his 40th birthday, and he bought some books to learn to play it from. And Neil had to go for about a week or so, and he could pick a few single notes, but he couldn't get his fingers in the right places to play chords. And he had no idea how to strum, so he gave up, and he didn't touch the guitar again until about a year ago. And so with Neil, we started with getting just a couple of chords, and when Neil could play those chords, it gave him the confidence to go on. So within a month, he was playing a song that his wife could recognize, and from there, we went through a structured approach to keep going and learn to play song after song. He said to me recently, it's been about a year now, and I'm flying. And he went from thinking that he couldn't play the guitar within that time to playing 25 complete songs. And then here's Ian Bloomfield from Bridgend in Wales. And Ian has always wanted to learn to play guitar and recreate the songs he loves on the guitar. He's owned a guitar for 40 years, but not picked it up since he was a teenager. He was starting from close to the beginning. He called it near zero, and he tried YouTube lessons, but decided that he wanted something more personal and flexible for his guitar learning. So 12 months in to working with me, he's now playing 20 to 30 of his favourite songs. And then here's Scott Bowman. He's from Queensland in Australia, 55 years old. Scott didn't know how to play chords cleanly or change between them. He found it hard to learn and also hard to believe that his, as he said, his big fat sausage fingers would ever fit into the frets without touching the strings that he wasn't trying to play. So we began by conditioning Scott's hands and fingers to increase his flexibility and his dexterity. And then we developed his positioning on the neck so that his wrist, his thumb, and his fingers were in the best position to play the chords cleanly before we broke down some of his favourite songs and put them together step by step, section by section. And now Scott's doing really well. He's playing a number of songs that he really enjoys. Here's an email from Scott. He said, "Many thanks, Ian. I've just retired from being a Vice-Chancellor and President of an Australian university, so I've met a few educators. I can tell you that you are one of the best. You're always positive and respond very quickly, and I think that the process you have produced is first class. I wish you all the best for it. Warm regards, Scott." So what does this structured approach look like? The first step is we develop an ability to play clean chords and fast and smooth chord changes. We start with stretching, strengthening, and conditioning your fingers for suppleness. Then we develop your alignment, pressure, and positioning of your wrist, your hand, your thumb, and your fingers to make the chords cleaner. And we focus on fretting a core set of 6 chords cleanly before we then develop systematically an ability to change between those chords quickly and smoothly. So that's the fretting hand. And then second step, we look at the other hand, where we work on fluid and musical timing. So we develop the foundations of strumming first, then the movement of the elbow and wrist, and the mechanics of strumming. So how much of it is elbow movement and how much of it is wrist involved in that, depending on the feel of the song we're playing. And then a core set of strumming patterns I teach you. Then we develop an ability to strum fluidly while changing chords without stopping or slowing down. And then the third step is to bring both of those hands into play together to get playing songs. So we bring chords and strumming patterns to strum in time while changing the chords. And then we work on getting the correct rhythm and feel for the song, and then building a song step by step, section by section. So the intro, the verse, the chorus, that sort of thing. And then we develop an ability to play a complete song fluidly and musically. And we do that with song after song after song. The result of executing these 3 steps correctly is that you'll be able to play 2, 3, 4, even 5 complete songs on guitar to a reasonable standard every month. And the best part is that my complete structured approach includes multiple color-coded levels that gradually increase in difficulty as you progress. You'll be playing your first complete song within 27 days and learning at your own pace to play as many songs as you want to, of your choice at each level before you move on. You'll finally have that roadmap effect to make progress on your guitar playing every time that you practice. And this is what I call cracking the code, getting these 3 elements to playing dialed in. And this is what I do with my students to get them playing the songs that they want to play. So here's Ian Davidson from Aberdeenshire in Scotland, and when Ian retired, he decided to get out the guitar he'd had for quite a few years and finally learn to play it. He started learning from books, but wasn't making the progress that he wanted to, and Ian told me his playing was very poor, and he was just playing the simplest of notes, and he didn't know how to play chords, and he felt that he didn't have a strategy. He'd just pick up a book and have a go at something from it. We started with Ian's chord playing, then his strumming, and to playing his first song quickly, so that Ian knew himself that he would be able to do this, and he's now playing over 20 songs, with his latest one being Hotel California. Simon Arger from Hertfordshire in the UK. Simon messed around with the guitar as a teenager in the 70s, but he didn't get anywhere with it. He tried again last year, but decided he couldn't get the chords and couldn't make his hands do it. He told me he'd convinced himself, no, I can't do that, but he still really wished he could play. So when Simon started working with me, he told me his objective was to have fun and really enjoy it, and that he wanted to sing along with his playing. So fast forward 12 months, Simon is doing fantastic. He's now playing and singing along to over 40 of his favourite songs. And here's Mark Aarons from Kent in the UK. Mark owned a guitar for 20 years. He'd always wanted to play. He tried using books and other methods, but found them overly complicated, confusing and patronising too, and they just didn't really make sense. So he felt the hardest part was the chords, getting the dexterity in his fingers and muscle memory to move fluidly between them. So we started with the suppleness of Mark's fingers in combination with the correct pressure to use and the placement of his fingers. We then systematically sped up his chord changes and stages to form the required muscle memory. 7 months into learning with me, and Mark is so far playing 24 complete songs. Now, you must have the right structured approach to unlock these results. You can do it, of course, the hard way. You can get these 3 different aspects, the fretting hand, the strumming hand, and then both together in alignment yourself. It's possible to do. It might take a year or 2, and it might be a little bit frustrating to get the right combination of 3 different elements. It turns out there's over 1,000 different possible combinations of those. But you can also do it the easy way, and you can have somebody to help you to show exactly how to dial in these 3 elements and, crack the code in playing the songs you want to on guitar. So you might be thinking, How can I get a structured approach to my guitar playing so I can learn to play 2, 3, 4, even 5 complete songs on guitar to a reasonable standard every month? And this is perfect for people who want to learn to play guitar properly without wasting your time and energy, have tried before and got stuck, but deep down you still want to do it. Somebody who feels like they're not getting anywhere when they pick up the guitar, but they want to learn to play their favourite songs, their own enjoyment. Right now, I'm looking for a few more of my dream students to work with them, unpick what's happening on the guitar, and teach them to play their favourite songs, the songs that they want to play. Over the next few days, I've cleared some time on my calendar to have a chat with you about your guitar playing. So you can book in a call with me, and what we'll do is we'll both jump on a video call and we'll have a chat about your guitar playing. Any challenges you have with it, your experiences so far, what you want to be able to do on the guitar, any goals that you have, and then we can talk about exactly how I can help, and I'll also show you the roadmap to get from where you are to where you want to get to and give you lots of tips and advice in your guitar playing. And if we're a good fit to work together and I can definitely get you the results that you want, I'll extend to you an invitation to work with me as your guitar teacher and work personally with you to get you playing the songs that you want to. So who is this call for? It's for adults who want to play their favorite songs on acoustic or electric guitar. It's for beginners or people who've tried before and got frustrated. And it's for people who understand that they need to have some skin in the game. So don't wait to book this call. I'm personally talking to the people who apply, so there are of course limited spaces available, and I only choose to work with a limited number of new students each month. So click the button below to apply, and we'll have a chat soon about your guitar playing and how I can help you get where you want to go.